please.
You've
Thank you,
got it.
Micah.
You're welcome.
So tonight is the racial profiling ad hoc, and we have been doing some extraordinary work. I want to say thank you to our ad hoc committee comprised of Commissioners, Chair Peterson, Commissioner Ricardo Garcia Acosta, Deacon Reginald Lyles, Lieutenant Hubbard, and our Chief of Staff, Micah Montgomery, who is with us until 6:45. Once again, I want to very directly say to you, Lieutenant Hubbard, we are certainly very sorry for the loss of Officer Wingate. And, if there is something that we can do, please let us know.
I appreciate your words. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's always a tragedy. So what I wanted to share, if people haven't been able to follow the commission meeting, is that we presented the MOR as well as the cultural accountability statement. There were some questions from commissioners, specifically Commissioner Riles, who I think did not understand why we can't put a message like what we have in our cultural accountability statement in our manual of rules statement. And unfortunately, I was kind of out there by myself and I could not get my words around the fact that the MOR has a very specific role and responsibility in it, and you're referencing a penal code basically on how someone is charged, right? So that didn't come out real clear. And so I know that we will have some follow-up meetings with Commissioner Riles, because I do plan to bring these same two items before the full commission for a vote at the second meeting in May. Separate from that, we had a visit from Salim Bey, who, as you all know, has for 6 years been talking about the critical importance of having a racial profiling ad hoc. And so his concern was that he did not see enough mention of religion as something that, has been profiled against. And I, having formerly been married to a Muslim man, I do understand, that sensitivity. So what I'd like to request is, if there are a couple places where we can reference religion as one of the additional kind of profiled subjects, and I'm getting a nod from Lieutenant Hubbard, so I thank you for that. So I think that based upon the way the MOR, its role, that we should probably keep it the way it is, because it is very clear. And then try to make a couple of adjustments to include religion in the cultural accountability statement. But I also think that that statement is very tight as well. Does anybody have any, burning desires to make any additional recommendations to that statement? Because I think we've, like a pizza, we've thrown it up in the air, we've told it around a few times, we've let it drop, we've done it again. So if we think that adding the religious commentary, and I presume that everybody's okay with that.
Are we talking about the cultural accountability statement, adding religion in that,
yes,
or more in the policy?
No. The cultural accountability.
Sure.
And
no objection for me. However, I don't want to neglect the other categories within there then, because we also have gender, age, religion, sexual orientation, and disability. So
if we need to restate it in more than one place and spell each of those things out,
sure,
that's fine. Deacon Lyles, do you have a comment?
Yeah, we ought to add all the protected classes.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's list them all. Yeah. Okay. And then if you can kind of guide us on where you think that might fit best. And Micah, I know that you are with us for a little while. Is it possible for you to share your screen and put, or Lieutenant Hubbard, share your screen and put the cultural accountability statement up on the screen so we can all kind of be in agreement for where it most appropriately goes?
Lieutenant Hubbard, do you have a copy at hand, or I need to go find one? Give me a second, I can find one if you want.
I do. Let me just make sure I have the right version here. Give me 1 second.
I'll try to pull it up from the agenda. I might be able to find it. Hold on.
I have it here. I have it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Cool.
And then after we do that, is it, I believe that it's most appropriate that we do our post letter at the end of the entire M19 review. Is that an appropriate assumption? Our letter to post?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And
I
the
realize I'm
reason
giving you two
why,
things to do, Lieutenant Hubbard, sorry.
oh, no, it's fine. Yeah. And the reason why, of course, is it's not just our policy, it's going to be the training documents that go with it. And
Correct.
that should always go at the very end of producing those documents. Yeah.
Good. I just wanted to be clear, especially when it's a first time kind of recommendation. So let's everybody take a look. I
Look at the first sentence, the third paragraph.
Racial profiling by law enforcement is a complex systematic issue with deep historical roots in the
No.
United States.
Third paragraph, racial profiling and racial profiling laws threaten all people of color.
Oh,
Seem like
that's
you
where
could
we put
say,
it.
and has evolved to impact all of the
Protected classes, right.
7 protected classes. And then you could do a parentheses and then put
List them all.
religion, disability, blah, 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 blah.
Gender, yes.
How's
Okay.
that sound?
I think that's perfect. Does everybody agree that that's a good place for it?
I'd actually
you for that.
suggest that exact sentence right there, but at the end of various eras in American history. That way we don't take away from the impacts of the people of color. And that whole sentence, I think, is pretty strong. And then as we segue from eras in American history to talk about how historically it's impacted all these other
Can you tell me where your areas of America? Oh, I see it. Various areas. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like letting that little couple sentences kind of finish off that point and then attaching it to maybe that end.
So what is our pleasure? I mean, I really do like starting it off when we say threaten all people of color and then, you know, keep going. But as well, I mean,
Yeah, if we say racial profiling and race profiling laws threaten all people of color, period, period.
Yep.
Second sentence, it has evolved, unfortunately, it has evolved to threaten all of the 7 protected classes, of the federal 7 protected classes. And then have a parentheses,
which, yeah.
And then name the 7 protected classes. That way, the sentence that my brother likes stands alone.
Correct, correct. Commissioner Garcia Acosta, does that? Okay, I see you nodding, so great. Yep. So we will look to get an updated document with this, with the entire naming of the protected classes and this additional language there. Now,
it has evolved to threaten all protected class. It has evolved to threaten
all protected classes.
Yeah.
So we can take of and the out. And Lieutenant Hubbard, I'm really not trying to call you out, but I would assume you know what each of the 7 are, correct? The protected classes?
I do. And today, in
Okay.
fact, I was updating the policy. I'm trying not to have separate documents. Now I'm actually trying to plug stuff in, and I created the glossary, and I'm building on that. So yes,
Oh,
I do. Thank
outstanding.
you.
Outstanding. Thank you. Okay, well, I think that this is great. And I think that other than that, we really did do a thorough job of this statement. So if it is your pleasure, I think what we should do is, and let me ask you first, Lieutenant Hubbard, because I didn't prep people to review M19 for tonight. But I know that I believe that you were beginning to delve into M19, but we don't have to. We can review the first couple of paragraphs, or we can have a shorter meeting. I hate to misuse the access of time, and then really dig into M19 on our own so that we can come prepared to have robust discussion about it. I see Chair Peterson's hand is up.
Yes, I was dropped from the call while you were revising the first couple of sentences,
Oh,
and I
sorry.
did have something to say. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, Marcia, we can hear you. Okay, now we can't hear you. I see your lips moving, but no sound. We heard
Okay,
you before.
try
There we
it one more time.
go. Okay,
You were speaking about that racial profiling has expanded. It's not racial profiling that has expanded, but profiling, illegitimate or illegitimate profiling has expanded to protected classes.
Yeah, that's right.
okay. So.
So it's not
great.
racial profiling, it's profiling.
No,
has
that's
expanded.
fine. I think that what we can do is still keep the first sentence, racial profiling and racial profiling laws threaten all people of color. And then the next sentence can be illegitimate profiling has evolved to threaten all protected classes.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
name them. Does that suffice for you, Marcia?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
That
I think
was my
it's
suggestion.
I think it's the word illegitimate is a really strong word, so I like that as well. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So with that, one of the things we will begin transitioning to, and we will have much more robust conversation on M19 during our next meeting. And I will be inviting Darlene from Race and Equity to join us. Initially, I had reached out, and I quite frankly have not reached out since. So I think that might be a really good time for her to give, perhaps like an overarching commentary around what she thinks is critical to address. And then, kind of go at it. Does that make sense for all of us? With that,
I had a comment.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, and I was just looking at this. In the blue writing here, some Oakland Police Departments' history of these practices is documented in a case study in the book titled that the writers come at night each word should be capitalized.
Correct, and
corruption and maybe italicized.
Correct, with end quotes as well. Now the case study, where is that? I remember the book, but I don't remember the case study.
You talking about Everhart's book?
Oh, okay. Well, then we need to specify it because this book is the one that Darwin Bond Graham and
Yes.
Ali, yeah, have done. So I think that it
But-
makes sense for us to reference both, right?
Yeah, and you could her study, I know they have it there. We gave
Yeah.
her over $100,000 for it.
Oh,
So
yeah. No, definitely. I just
we
wasn't
gotta
sure
have
what
it
we were
there.
talking about. Yeah.
So we should cite her book also. Her study of the Oakland Police Department.
That study, that was the police stop data study?
Yes.
Definitely that, yeah.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate you catching that. So Lieutenant Hubbard, will you be able to go back to the case study and say, I don't know if it had a name, Dr. Everhart's case study on Oakland Police Department, or if there is a specific, reference.
The title.
Yeah, title.
of the
Thank you.
study.
I don't know why I'm having trouble, speaking tonight. Thank you.
I do have that, and I was looking at it today, actually. So I
Aha.
will make sure that's included.
Okay, thank you. And then I imagine that will require an additional footnote as well. I realize that we have Darwin Bond Graham's listed, but then we'll need to address Dr. Everhart's as well.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so I really why don't we just do a full walkthrough since we're still finding things and make sure that we've got everything. Can we all just take a look and see if we have any questions coming up? And as well, if there's anybody in our audience that has a comment, now would be time to put it in the chat. Deacon Lyles?
Yes.
I'm sorry, your hand is up. Was that from before?
No, that was before.
Okay, my apologies.
Let me take-
Marcia, is this a new hand?
This
or-
is new, and
Okay.
this is at 9:47 a.m. from Commissioner Wilson Riles. And I don't, you were not copied on this, and I think you should know where he is coming from.
Can you send that to me so I'll have the opportunity to reference it? I know that he is going to be meeting with the IG to get, further distilling of like the distinction between MOR and the accountability statement and all.
Well, he said he's writing to her and he copied me, but he said, I need your help. Your comments in response to what I raised at the commission meeting were helpful. However, I am left without knowing where is the proper place. Where is the proper place to raise my concerns and strongly felt belief that the sworn individuals and department must change their behavior and understanding of racial profiling and race relations in Oakland if they wish to be trusted. I need your help with this, and I do not think that I have been articulate enough. Let me try this again. The department has a bad history in Oakland. There is ample, solid evidence of why it is bad. No matter the goodness or the correctness of the behavior of individual uniformed members of the department, when they step out on the street, they will represent the bad history of the department. I'm not a sociologist, but I know enough to confidently surmise what the consequences tend to be when one walks in that world every day. You might wish that the folks that you see every day would give you a chance to show that you are different, but you will start behind, quote unquote, every day. That is a huge burden. My surmise is that it does not take long before most cops would give up and or turn, quote unquote, cold and stick to their colleagues rather than try every day to prove they are different. I do not think that this wall is going to be bridged with sports, games, cookouts, or visits to school. some deeper, more open, more expressed admission of being part of a group that was wrong, and a asking for forgiveness must be present and expressed. The criminal justice system overall is still all messed up. I think that the police must join the effort to call for a reform of the whole system, but especially for a reform of the department. When one puts on that uniform, I think one must say, we did wrong, not just, I'm not going to do wrong. Oh man, this kind of goes on.
Okay,
Ah,
so,
it's very long. So
okay, I appreciate that. Would you please
yeah,
send that to me if that's okay, or ask his permission to forward it to me?
I already forwarded to
Okay,
you.
all right, great. And what I'm thinking is there could be an additional reference below the, Oakland Police Department's history that says something like, we must acknowledge we must acknowledge the sins of the past
Yes.
and not allow them to continue to poison or fester our present for the sake of our future, right? Something like that. But I also believe that some of his words may actually be well suited for the training document. Lieutenant Hubbard, what do you think about that?
No, yeah, my thoughts exactly, and I really hope that he can be involved in the drafting of the training documents, even be a guest speaker. Excuse me, I think that would be great. But I certainly knows where he's coming from. I don't know if it needs to be inserted in this policy, but the training document certainly.
Yeah, well, and I think that, to Deacon Lyles is concerned that, if the word discipline isn't in this document, then it, doesn't have the teeth that say we're serious. Riles' reference to we can have all the barbecues in the world, but it's like if the culture is poison, it's not just going to go away because we find some new words. It's actually behavior, right?
Right.
So part of me, and you all tell me no if you want to.
No, I like where you're going. I just also like what I think Wilson is trying to say also. I think
Mhm.
I think I agree with Lieutenant Hubbard that the training, we start from this point and everybody going forward, we're going to train in this particular way so we will be a better officer, a more sensitive, compassionate officer. I get that. But that doesn't satisfy past
Correct.
Offenses. And the only way you can satisfy past offenses is pretty much like the Germans did, like other police departments have done, like in Minnesota and Minneapolis, like they did, where there's a statement and our department accepts full responsibility of this negative history, and therefore we dedicate ourselves to go forward in this direction. It cannot just be the oath of office, or it can't just be the oath of office, because the oath of office didn't stop any of that behavior.
Right.
So
Right.
it's got to be something, and if it's dramatic and something categorically different than what has ever happened before, that's all the better, because it was signaling a 90-degree change, course direction. And so if that course direction is buried in between policies, I think it should be someplace up front at the top, at the first book that police officers open up. What is the book that every recruit gets initially? Is it the general orders or the manual rules or what?
Lieutenant Hubbard, I think
It's
that's you.
it's everything. They get it all at once, but also the main document that they refer to is the Academy Policy Manual.
Academy policy.
Can
man.
we get a copy of that so we even know what
Okay,
is being
so
shared?
so when they go to academy, they get this manual of how they're supposed to behave in the academy. And that's not where the threat is. You know, they want the job. They're always perfect in the academy.
Right.
That's not where it's at. It's got to be some place where everybody in Oakland can see it, and it's got to be that kind of public. It's got to be in whatever book that is the most sacred to us. This is our Bible. It's got to be up front. And quite frankly, I would like to have the chief make a statement. I want to hear the person who's supposed to be the head of the organization saying, this is how I'm managing. And then subsequently, every chief that comes in, we need to ask them, in the interview process, do you have any problem with this statement? So we can change behavior.
Correct. And here's the question that I have. I know that the very next paragraph speaks directly to Oakland and the systemic, failures,
Yes.
and the, nature of racial profiling. And
I like the wording of that too.
oh no, I think it's beautiful. And I
Yeah.
think that as it relates to that, to this end, each man and woman of the Oakland Police Department has made significant strides toward rectifying the mistakes of the past. However, we acknowledge the ongoing journey toward full accountability and cultural transformation. We may want to add another sentence before we say we are dedicated to committing this crucial work, striving for a better department and serve as a model. Something along the lines of full accountability and cultural transformation are best demonstrated by change in behavior. Kind of like walking the walk, not talking the talk.
Yes.
And we also recognize that, bad behavior will be disciplined or something along that line. And I'm not sure, I think that's where it should go, because that paragraph really does speak specifically to the Oakland Police Department.
And if I'm just spitballing here.
Okay.
that statement in purple there does not just have to be in this particular document.
Correct. But this
be,
is a standalone.
Yeah, it could be, that statement could be in every sacred book that OPD thinks it's important to them. On the front page, on the, you're opening up,
Yeah.
before you get to the condex, you see that statement with the chief's face on it, or the chief's signature on it. And if it's spread around the department, it becomes standard.
So Lieutenant Hubbard, sorry, don't mean to stop you from getting your your sustenance there. When Deacon Lyles talks about, kind of this header statement, where are the additional places that this kind of a significant acknowledgement should be included? I mean, we will have the training document, but in terms of, it's got to be drilled in like at every level. So as Deacon Lyles says, the academy is not where the problem is. It's right after the academy where you have the sergeant say, what you learned in the academy, throw that out. Here's what we really do. And, that has been kind of a representation of, and that's come through the book. And I don't know if it still happens, but, what I'm trying to get at is, where are there other places where a demonstrated commitment to changed behavior related to racial profiling and any kind of profiling should go? And if you want to think about that, that's fine.
So is this kind of like a tag you want to put everywhere? Like,
It,
almost to the point where deviation and accountability and, behavior, accountability and, um, yeah, behavior and accountability matter.
Discipline. And discipline.
Okay, okay. Behavior, accountability, and discipline. You know that spells bad. BAD. Uh, behavior, accountability, and discipline will matter, or they matter, or something. Something
right.
that you want is like a tag that they know everywhere they go.
I think
That
that, yeah, that is definitely something for us to consider, and whether it's those 3 words or, you know, a 2-line statement or something, I think maybe we, can discuss more of that as we begin to get into the training document, because that's really the more explosive, communicative, accountability.
You know,
I was just wondering if there were other places that these kind of
you know,
bold statements can go. Go ahead.
every sacred book, and I'm using the word sacred, meaning something that,
yeah,
we live by this.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, we live by this. Okay.
Well, they have their code of conduct.
Every sacred book, it has to be in there. And if I'm the chief of police, I'm gonna have it on a plaque in the lobby as people come in. I mean,
Yeah, you
and
did.
so Marcia, you and Regina ought to try to get a meeting with the chief about this very issue,
Okay.
because this is something that you know, there's going to be resistance to this. There's going to be
Well, it's going to be his tagline. That's why when you were saying you wanted to write this in, I think this is really, I thought about it when you were saying it, that this has got to be Mitchell's
yes,
tagline.
yes. See, and you're going to have people going to say, I don't care about that. And fine, they don't care about it. But this is the direction of the department.
Well,
Yeah.
and to that,
Well,
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I'd argue that, I mean, I think one, I want to acknowledge that it's already beautifully written, right? And we're really close, even capturing Raul's additional comments. And I think considering those and considering Deacon Lau's previous comments around discipline, I do think there's a direct through and through between strong, explicit acknowledgement of why we are doing this and the hard discipline that's going to come with that and why it's not acceptable in this department, right? And as we wordsmith out this paragraph right here, once we get that right, feel like it has a little bit more teeth. Yeah, I agree. I think we could explore different creative ways where we could maybe reference this clause, this little paragraph within the accountability statement, right? So that always takes people back to this statement, back to M19, right? Back to the training. And we could find out. I mean, I even think I'll take it a step further. That it's something that, the commission, the chief, the mayor, everybody could sign off on. This is what we expect for policing for our city.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think that to add to Commissioner Garcia Acosta, that I know there's an oath that police officers take, and I don't know if it's ever been changed, kind of like when we pledge allegiance. Perhaps that is something that we can look at adding some language. I don't know. And of course, all of this stuff has to go through, we have to send
Through the union.
the UMPL M19 to the monitor, to the union, to everyone. So, there may be some slight changes. It's not going to all the way get thrown out, but I'm wondering.
It's frozen for me. I don't know if that's the same for everybody
We
else.
can hear you, but we can't see you, and your hand is still up. So what I want to do is spend enough time on this document to ensure that we think that it is where it needs to go, that we've arrived, that we've hit a home run, however you want to call it.
Have we seen before this committee their code of conduct, their ethics,
I don't
code
think
of
so.
ethics? Because I went to the last academy graduation And I think they either had to recite it and it had everything we're kind of talking about in there. And I think all of these documents that, to everyone's point, are the sacred documents, their code of ethics being one of them, is something that we should be referencing as part of their responsibility insofar as their behavior. Because if they don't have a guiding principle that somehow is their North Star in their behavior, I think they're out there just doing their own thing. And that's why these scandals pop up. They're kind of still out there doing their own thing, not thinking that there's any accountability, and reports of investigation are written in ways that allow them to not be held accountable. I mean, our recent one that we're struggling with, he was cleared in ID, and I remember it was basically, he seemed like he was very honest and credible when he said he didn't know he had done anything wrong.
Well,
Without getting to something real specific, I think perhaps Lieutenant Hubbard might be able to weigh in on several of these questions that go directly to academy, training, books, code of conduct.
I'll start with the academy. So what happened at the graduation was the simple oath of office, and that is actually written by the city of Oakland. So there's room there to change that. But that's not the code of ethics, and I'll send that to you separately on what that looks like. But to answer the larger question, I personally believe in advertisement and branding, and if you walk through the halls,
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Lieutenant Hubbard, if you walk through the halls. Uh-oh,
He's
frozen?
He's frozen.
yeah.
Okay.
Everybody has been frozen on this thing for me.
Okay. Are you back,
He's
Lieutenant?
back
Uh,
now. Lieutenant Hubbard, you were
you?
frozen. Stay with,
Yeah,
state
we
your
heard
point.
if you walk through
Okay.
the halls, and then we didn't hear
Yeah,
anything else.
it's barren, and I really do believe that officers should see little reminders about ethics
yeah.
and little things. And I know there's capital improvement money from the city of Oakland that we can use to, if I get, hire a good graphic artist to build us something that we can design ourselves that people can see. And I did that kind of for the academy. If you walk through our academy classrooms, there's a lot of things about accountability and reporting misconduct. Those are just little things I created the best I could just to instill that culture right when they walk through the door. But you don't necessarily see that throughout the police department or the Eastmont substation. I like to see that more.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that there is more room for us to, I think right now, Mike, I know we only have 5 more minutes with you. If you can document this updated potential tagline, oath of office, branding opportunity, we can come back to that once we have finished our review of M19 and include it, as we move through the training document, and then ultimately in our recommendation to post.
Okay, you got it. We also have a comment from Risa.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
if you can see that.
Yes, so she said, what I hear from what was read is that the acknowledgement needs to go beyond the training and be things said out in public. And I would just add to her excellent comment, it's things done in public. It really is behavior, not words.
Yeah.
How people will say all the time, watch what I do, not what I say, or watch what they do, not what they say. Actions speak louder than words, that kind of thing. So I think that we have done a pretty good job of delineating in this particular statement what it is that we want to see, and that does it make sense almost almost to, like this is a letter to the new police officer. Progress and change comes from changed behavior. While I think we said that there have been significant strides, but it's a much longer road. This acknowledgement of the ongoing journey, full accountability and cultural transformation. Yeah. So, is there anything burning? I'm not sure who was
Nothing
talking.
burning,
Put
but
that on mute.
but
Go ahead.
nothing burning. But I really think a high level meeting with the chief of police about this idea is so appropriate, and I'm sure if he's worth his salt, he'll say, "Hey, this is new, innovative. I can make my mark here," and would jump on this.
Yeah, no, I think that is critical. I mean, you always want people to start out the way they want to end up. And this is not just a news flash. This is a trajectory, a shift in
Yes.
what we want to see. So, Chair, I know that, well, I imagine you've probably already contacted Aaron Smith or somebody to kind of be first on the docket when he finally does come. Do we have a start date? I know he pushed it back. Do we have an updated start date for him? Have you heard, Lieutenant Hubbard?
As far as I know, the message has been the 11th of May.
Okay. And initially it was like May 1, right?
It was, yeah. So
Okay.
11th of May, and I believe he's in town even next week. So I've heard.
Okay. All right.
What I would
That's
really
good.
like is this for be the first policy that he signs off on. But I don't know if that's too aggressive. But I'm hoping to have actually my final draft to you all by our next meeting. And when we meet with them, say, hey, can you review and sign off on this?
No, I think that would be exceptional. That this, dynamic, like I said, accountability and transformational behavior be his first stamp of approval. I mean, that would be great.
Has there ever been a press conference for signing new DGO orders?
Well, no, this is what I wanted to say about that. His first meeting will be our May 25th meeting when we come back.
Well, that's a
and-
public meeting.
Okay, is there a problem with having him there and prepping him that this racial profiling policy when are we're going to be finished with this so he could see it? Because we're talking about this being the first thing, but not necessarily the first meeting, I guess.
Right, that's
Correct.
it, Marcia.
And my recommendation to you, Chair, would be to discuss this with him in private first,
Yeah.
as a part of the ongoing meetings, to hear
Yes.
what, any
Yeah.
concerns or queries that he
I'm
needs.
going to be talking to him before the end of the week
Okay.
to try to get a better feel for when he's really going to be on first. I want to talk to Interim Chief Allison to make sure there's an overlap. I want to also, if he at our first meeting, make sure that the public knows this will be his first meeting and they could come out and see him and shake his hand and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, well, we could probably ask Micah. She may have dropped because it's 6:46.
I'm here.
You're still there? Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. So, Micah, I think it might be great if you have the wherewithal to do a graphic design that maybe has a picture of Chief Mitchell and says something like, come welcome, the new chief at the police commission meeting on XYZ date. And then that can, be on social media and, just reverberate throughout.
Right.
Yes, I can do that. And just a correction on the date, it is the 23rd, not the 25th. And
Sorry.
no,
Okay.
no need to apologize. I just want to make sure that, the right information is communicated on the recording. And I'm going to pass over host to Ricardo now.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. And appreciate your participation. And if you can get any notes that you took or minutes from this meeting to us within the next week, that would be great.
Okay, you've got it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Micah.
You're welcome. Let's see. Make host Ricardo. Yes. All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Micah.
Bye-bye. Remember to check the chat.
Yeah, thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Bye.
So, right, Risa also said yes to the doing, and a public truth and reconciliation could go a long way to moving public perception of OPD. And so truth and reconciliation, that may be the statement that perhaps the chief might at some point be willing to say. I don't know if he's going to start out that way, but given the
It's
fact
all toned at the top.
well, that's really
This is his moment.
well, this is going to be your opportunity to clarify the value of these first moments.
Yes.
So I just think that if he knows it's coming, if you've already had some conversation about what it means and what we expect to see, like I said, start out the way you want to end up. Then by May 23rd, then he may be able to make some substantive comments as it relates to that, and perhaps and your question was, when will we be done? Well, done is an evolving thing. So we're going to
Oh,
review
that's true.
M19 and update it, but we're also going to do the training document. We also are going to do the discipline for racial profiling, since there has been none that add to the discipline matrix. And I believe at that point, then we will draft our letter to the post, but that at that point, we will be able to send it on to all of the other powers that be for review and sign off, including the chief. But I know that, this because of well, actually all policies have to kind of get reviewed by the monitor. But because of the subject matter and the critical nature of this policy, I'm sure that it has to go to the union too.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, especially if it's going to involve discipline.
Well, absolutely, and it will. Okay, so Lieutenant Hubbard, what do we think about these a few highlighted yellow sections? You're going to do a little bit more shaping, or do we want to focus on trying to identify the additional language we want to see in here tonight?
I think I know where to go, and my hope, I was delayed 1 week just because I was helping the planning of
The
Officer
funeral.
Wingate's funeral last week.
Yes.
So, but I am confident that I can have a pretty good final draft of the entire policy to include this by our next meeting.
Whoa.
I even hope to actually have it to you before then, so you have enough time to read it and make some comments. So our next meeting, we can just start making edits and move this along. So I'm optimistic of that, just because I've been working on it this week and it's been moving faster than I thought. So I think we're in a good place.
That is great. So our next meeting will be May 15th from 6 to 7:30. And if when do you think you can get it to us?
If I can get it to you by Friday the 10th, then it'll give you the weekend and a few extra days to review it.
Absolutely. That would be phenomenal. That way we have lots of time to review, kick questions back and forth, include Commissioner Riles without violating our 3 commissioner
Brown rule.
participation rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
We always gotta keep those. Mhm.
May I ask Lieutenant Hubbard a question? Could you brainstorm some places where you think it should go? Give some thought to that. You know, if you had your magic wand, and you can have this statement anywhere in the department, in any book in the department, where would those places be? And you have
Definitely
to
in-
respond now on the
Oh,
5th.
he's getting ready to though, so let him do it.
I definitely would put it in the POT, the police officer training policy manual, because that's the first thing anybody reads when they first walk through the door. But even for our professional staff, who I think there is some overlap there, there are some onboarding documents that are given to them, like our dispatchers, for example. I think there's a place for it there, and I think it's not specific necessarily for racial profiling, but I really want to get to a point. I know I mentioned this before, where all of our policies have some type of cultural impact statement, and I think there can be overlap of what we wrote here into all those policies. So anytime you pick up a policy, the first thing they read is some type of
That's what I'm
cultural
driving.
change. Yeah,
That's what
in
I'm
there.
driving.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
it
where
sounds-
physically in the building would you put it?
I would put it in our lineup rooms, because that's where officers go every day for lineup. Certainly in our lobby, so when the community enters, they can know what we're about. And basically the well-populated, definitely our 5th floor, which is where all of our training is held. So anytime you walk up there for training, you'll see it. So sure. Yep.
Like when you approach those elevators.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
I think that's wonderful. And Lieutenant Hubbard, as it relates to, kind of branding a statement, who else, is there the communications component that we ultimately might be working with to flush this out and identify, where whatever statement we're talking about gets put? Or are you?
Certainly. I like to rely on experts with this, because I studied a little bit of marketing in college, and I really enjoyed it just because it works on me, because it's how I buy things. But little clever ways that we can push this communication in easy to read and remember way, I think is very impactful.
I too agree. It sounds like you've got your finger on the pulse. So, I believe that at this point, what we're going to be looking to do, next things on the horizon, Lieutenant Hubbard is going to send us the cleaned up version of this with some language where the yellow highlights exist, as well as his review of M19 on Friday, May 10th. Did I got that right?
That's correct.
Okay, fabulous. In the meantime, in between time, I will also be inviting Darlene Flynn to join us at our next meeting. Hopefully she can. If not, we'll certainly have her review this accountability statement, just in case she's, recommending any shift of wording or thinks that something else should be highlighted or what have you, so that we are fully at the finish line for the May 23rd meeting. And then we can begin to look at how detailed is the training document, or our former training M19 document?
I don't know if I've ever seen the training document for M19. Yeah, so we can make it as in-depth as we want.
Okay, well, there you go. It
Yeah.
might make sense, even if we are not committing to reviewing it by the next meeting, to share with us the training document. Unless you prefer to have a once over on it and then share it with us, what's your pleasure?
I hope my efforts can be on the policy itself, and the training documents won't will not be difficult to put together based on the policy, but I want to lean on Darlene Flynn because she provided race and equity training before, which was excellent. And I know she has probably a lot to offer there, including maybe a curriculum to go with it. So
There we go.
if we can merge those two things together, and of course, my dream was to have Dr. Eberhardt come back and provide enhanced training on what was offered before. We just upped her contract again. So I think there's room there.
Okay, so let me ask this. I was suggesting that Darlene Flynn join us for the next racial profiling ad hoc, which will be May 15. Sounds like perhaps the meeting that follows that, maybe we could have Dr. Eberhardt be a guest speaker, having reviewed maybe what we've done thus far and commenting on that.
That would be great.
Does everybody like that idea? Am I getting a peace sign from you, Deacon? Or
that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, she's the expert on Oakland Police Department.
oh, yes, she is.
She
Yes,
wrote the document, you
Yeah.
know, she did the research.
that's
So,
correct.
Yeah.
So I just want us to be a little down the road so that she's got the opportunity to see where we're going. And then maybe, she can tell us, oh, it might be really good if you make a left turn right here.
Mhm.
That left turn looks like this. You know what I mean? So I will make sure
And it
that,
would be wonderful if you could talk to her in private, because she may say something to you or Chairman, Peterson that she wouldn't say publicly.
no, that's real.
Avail
And
yourself to that.
Yeah, no, and I have had a meeting with her back when I was chair. So we'll put that out as well. And try to get
Conversation.
the conversation going. But because we will have the document May 10th, we can forward it to her and say, here's a product of our work. We're doing more and want to invite you to be a part of this next iteration. Can you come to this meeting? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that sounds great. I don't believe in keeping us to 7:30 just because the meeting can go to 7:30. If there aren't additional things for us to discuss right now, I think we can conclude at 7, which is in 1 minute. How are people feeling about that? I think we've got a great roadmap. Deacon?
I'm fine with it. I just wanted to make one more last statement about this policy.
Okay.
If it comes up, that we have to make it known to the public and to the rank and file that this document is not, the audience is not just the police department or the police department personnel. This document is written for the public also.
This document is written for the city of Oakland.
That's right.
Everybody ought to know that these.
Everybody
are
ought to know.
affecting-
If we want to get
Absolutely.
improvement.
Absolutely.
Which is why I go back to especially if we vetted through both the channels of Dr. Eberhardt and with Darlene Flynn as well. I mean, it's going to have a lot of strength when we work with the chief on really having this being a unifying document of how policing happens in Oakland and how we're moving forward. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, without question. So I think with that, I want to again thank you, Lieutenant Hubbard, because you have been working diligently outside of these ad hocs, so that gets us that much further down the road.
Thank you, sir.
Really appreciate that. And again, appreciate we put a bit of pressure on you, Deacon, to finish up your feedback on the statement, and you were Johnny on the spot, and we really appreciate that as well. IG Phillips may not be with us today, but I know that she has also diligently worked to support Lieutenant Hubbard and the overall ad hoc. So with that, I want to thank you, from the bottom of my heart. I just really love all the progress we keep making at each meeting, but also recognize when we're there so that we can transition and move to the next thing. Any final commentary or questions? And I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay.
Are we good?
We're
Okay.
good.
Everybody have a good evening. Be safe, and we'll see you same bat channel, May 15th, 6 to 7:30.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone. Good
bye-bye.
night.
Thank you.